Hollow donut is one of the most popular and delicious treats in Asia. 2 months ago, I have made a video on how to make the hollow donut using the Ninja dough mixer. And in today's video, I will show you an easier and faster way that you can make a delicious hollow donut for you and your family at home. The method that I'm going to show you will not require you to knead the dough for too long, and the process is super easy to follow. If you are new here, don't forget to press the subscribe button for more delicious homemade recipes. Okay, let's get started. You will need 8 simple ingredients that you can easily find from any grocery store. You will need all-purpose flour, some warm milk, some sugar, some salt, some cooking oil, baking powder, dry yeast, and some raw sesame seeds. We are using 2 cups of all-purpose flour, or when you weigh it, it is 310 grams. I'm going to weigh the milk as well to show you. 1 cup of milk, it weighs out to be 210 grams. And if you are using cups to measure your all-purpose flour and your milk, it is 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of milk. The reason why I'm showing you 2 ways, for some countries like Cambodia, they are weighing all the ingredients, and for some countries, they are measuring it by cups. You can warm up the milk in the microwave for 40 seconds. For some countries, they may not have microwave, and the way that you can warm up the milk is by using the hot boiled water and warm the milk in there, and you can use the pinky to test out if it is lukewarm. Sometimes after you warm up the milk, the temperature of the milk may not be even, but what you can do, you can use a stirring stick to stir it so you get the temperature to be more even. 1 teaspoon of dry yeast. This is dry yeast. You have to pour it into the warm liquid first to activate it, but if you are using instant yeast, you can pour it straight to the flour. 4 tablespoons of sugar, or 70 grams. Stir and mix well, and after you're going to cover it and leave it on the side for 5 minutes. And next, we are going to get our dry ingredients ready. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 310 grams. Half teaspoon of salt, or 5 grams. 1 teaspoon of baking powder, or 5 grams. You can whisk all the dry ingredients together. And for the cooking oil, we are going to use that later, so we're going to save on the side for now. The way that you can tell if the dry yeast have been activated, if you see in the liquid there is some bubbles. You can slowly pour in all the liquid and using the spatula to stir and mix all the ingredients together. You can use a spatula to scrape any liquid out that is in the bowl. And after, we're going to use a spatula to combine all the ingredients together before we are using our hand. It is better to use a spatula to combine all the ingredients together because the whisker tends to stuck to the dough. In order for us to make a really delicious hollow donut that rise, we need to mix the dough a bit softer. Because the dough is softer, we do not need to knead the dough that long. So we're going to add 1 more tablespoon of water, or 15 milliliter. At this point, you're probably thinking that the dough is a bit too soft. When the dough is soft, it is easier to use a spatula to combine all the ingredients together instead of using our hand for now. And for now, you're going to use a spatula to combine all the ingredients together for about 1 minute. Once you see that all the ingredients combine together nicely, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of cooking oil. And after you add 1 tablespoon of cooking oil, you're going to use a spatula to combine all the ingredients together for 15 seconds. After 15 seconds, we're going to knead the dough by hand. You can set the timer for 2 minutes, or you can knead the dough until the dough is too sticky to touch. Because we are putting some cooking oil right now, the dough is not going to be sticky yet. I have timed this process a few times, and each time that I knead the dough, it's all different. So that is why I said you can knead it until it becomes too sticky to knead it. Once you see the dough is too sticky to handle, you're going to put it back into the bowl, and you're going to cover it with the plastic wrap and let it rest and rise for 1 hour and a half. And depending on the temperature of your home, it may take longer or shorter for the dough to rise to double size. After 1 hour and a half, the dough that you are let it to rest, it should rise to double size, just like this one. And when you touch it on the top, the dough should feel soft and not too sticky. Now you can spread some loose all-purpose flour on the board. You know how I tell you that the dough has to be a bit softer when we mix it? This is why, because now that we add more flour, if we make the dough too hard, when we now add flour, the dough may become too tough, and that will be hard for you to cut and stretch them later. And if you lift the dough up, the dough should be soft and really easy to work with. You can lightly coat the dough with some loose flour so it doesn't stick to your hand. After you make the dough into a long log, you can cut it into 10 pieces. And don't worry if you cannot cut the dough into the same equal size. It is homemade, so you can have fun with it. Pour some sesame seed in a tray, and that is what we're going to coat the dough with the sesame seeds. You can cut off some flour on the big piece to put into the small piece if you want it to be more even. The dough will be a bit sticky when you are shaping it, but do not put some loose flour yet. You're going to pinch everything together to make it into a round shape, and this process, I'm just telling you that it is going to be a bit sticky. Now you can coat both sides with the raw sesame seeds. The reason why that I don't recommend you to put any loose flour yet while we are doing this process, because it will give you a hard time later when we are trying to put the sesame seed on the dough. In the next clip, I will show you what I mean by putting a little bit of loose flour on the dough. Lightly coat the flour, and after you're going to shape them and pinch them together to make it into a round shape. Once you're done shaping it, you're going to use the dough and dip it into the sesame seeds. And as you can see, the sesame seeds barely stay on the dough. It's really hard to get it on there. But if you decided to do it this way, to make sure to only put a little bit of loose flour so the dough don't get too hard. And if you see that it is hard to get the sesame seed to stay on the dough, you can pinch the dough just like I do right now. This way it will make the dough a bit sticky again. And that is the way on how you can get the sesame seed to stuck onto the dough again. You can choose whichever method that you like, but I find that this way it's taking a bit longer. You can choose to put more sesame seed or less sesame seed. That is all up to you. And here is a step where we can be a bit more generous with the loose flour. Put some loose flour on the board and on your hand, and after we're going to reshape the dough into a round shape. You can coat both sides by flipping it back. And after you see it round, now you're going to use a hand roller to roll it over one direction. And after you roll the dough down, sometimes the dough is a bit sticky, so you're going to flip it over. And after you flip it back lengthwise, now you're going to use the roller to roll back and forth, and now you should get a really round shape just like I do right here. It is easier to mix the dough a bit softer, but if you were to mix the dough a bit more harder, when it is time to do this process, the dough, it will be super hard and you will not get a really good result later when you fry them. After you're done shaping all of them, you're going to put it into another tray and you're going to lightly coat with the loose flour, but not too much. Lay them flat and make sure that they don't stack on each other, and after we're going to use a clean cloth to cover it. You can use a clean cloth to cover it or any plastic wrap. You're going to cover it and let it rest for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you can start to warm up the cooking oil. And to make sure that the oil that is in the pot is about 1.5 inches to 2 inches deep. One way that you can test out if the oil is hot enough. When you drop a tiny piece of raw dough in, the dough should rise up in 5 to 7 seconds. When the oil is hot enough, you can lower the heat to number 8. I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can fry the hollow donut. This method is the old method that I shown you in the English version of my old video. And with this method, it is going to be bigger and flatter, and it is more heavier, so when you drop them into the oil, it is going to sink to the bottom. After about 5 seconds, the dough should rise up and you're going to use a long chopstick to flip it back and forth. You can flip it and turn it around, and that is how it creates air and it makes the hollow inside. I made the hollow donuts so many times that I end up discover a new ways on how you mix the dough together, and also how you can fry the donut and get a really good looking donut afterward. And with that method, I will show you in a bit. With this first method that I'm showing you, it is going to be a bit more flat, but it does have the hollow inside, but not too big. Either you are using the first method or the second method to fry your hollow donut, the texture and the taste of the hollow donut will taste delicious both ways. And here I'm going to show you the first method again. I'm going to flatten it and after drop it into the hot oil. Right away after you drop it into the hot oil, it will sink to the bottom. And with this method, if you don't flip and turn it fast enough, the hollow donut will not rise and have a big hollow inside. We are done with the first method. Are you ready to see the next and improved second method? Dun, dun, dun. With the second method, it is super easy to do. All you have to do is drop in the raw dough that we let it rest for 15 minutes into the hot oil. As soon as you drop in the dough should float up, and right away you're going to use a long chopstick to flip it back and forth to create air, so that way it will make the hollow inside. So the first method that I showed you, after we flatten it, when you drop it in, it sinks to the bottom, but with the second method, it do not sink to the bottom, it should float up. But what I noticed that the two methods after the finished product, the size of it is slightly different. Once the hollow donut is frying and get to the size that you like, you don't have to flip it back and forth too often anymore. You can also switch to the thong and fry each side to golden brown color. Whichever method that you're going to do, I guarantee you the texture of the finished hollow donut, it will taste really good the same way. But what I noticed after the hollow donuts, after done frying, they are really round and big, but then when you let it sit for a bit, one side of the hollow donut will get flat. Whichever method that you are deciding to do, the hollow donut will taste delicious both ways. And if you have tried to make them and you try both methods, can you come back and let me know how it turned out? So if you want an easier step, you can follow the second method that I shown you. All you have to do is let the dough rise after 15 minutes and drop it in straight to the oil and cook it. But to make sure that the cooking oil is hot enough when you fry them. Okay, and that is it on how you can make a delicious hollow donut for you and your family at home. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share with your family and friends. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more delicious homemade recipes. And also, don't forget to press the notification bells so you get notified for all my future videos. Okay, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye for now.